Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with the wrap-up of Talk is Jericho with John Cena on the WWE Network. One of my favorite things that they do for specials whenever they knock it out of the park. And with these airing right after Monday Night Raw, it really is a really good pick-me-up. We sit through 3 hours of Raw, and honestly, for a good portion of it, we're all just like, please wrap this up anytime soon. And then this 1 hour, no commercial talk segment comes up with Chris Jericho and John Cena, just talking about John Cena's career, their friendship, and everything that's gone on along the way, to get to John Cena to being the #1 guy in the WWE. And we don't want it to end. For the first time, they do one of these live podcasts. They don't run over. Jericho wrapped up the show right at 9 o'clock. Seeing how they went with a little bit of a run over to Monday Night Raw. The interview ran about 45 minutes. And honestly, if it would have went another half hour, I would have been really happy. John Cena came into the booth. Sort of the same set as they used for the Stone Cold Steve Austin, except they didn't put the smoking skull up. Of course, they went with their own Chris Jericho. They don't call it Talk is Jericho. They just call it the Jericho Podcast. This is their way of branding it. So just like the Stone Cold Steve Austin one, they'll come out with their own t-shirts to sell as their own merch, trying to sell this as their own. There was no mention of podcast1.com or anything like that. They just sort of treat it like it's WWE's own podcast. I guess you just have to know to go onto iTunes and look up Talk is Jericho to be able to pick up the feed. That way you can get it. They even plugged the fact that he was going to be having Vicky Guerrero on the Wednesday shows, as well as somebody from Talking Dead on the Friday show this week. But, onto the John Cena thing. I liked it. And they put over the fact of what happened on Monday Night Raw. I even like the fact that Chris Jericho called Stardust, Cody Rhodes, saying that John Cena had a really good match out there tonight. And then basically, put over the fact of him and Cody, got some good time on Monday Night Raw. They put over the fact of the United States title. They were talking about the 5 moves of doom, and Jericho even said that Cena surprised him by pulling out 2 extra moves, sort of like an homage to Chris Jericho with the off the ropes bulldog, pushing it up to 7 moves of doom. Jericho, switched the conversation, talking about what it's like not being in the main event. Here is another WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 31. John Cena is wrestling in the middle of the card. The last one was a match against Bray Wyatt. This one was a match against Rusev for the United States title. And, what he thought of it. And John Cena just said he loved the business. He loved what he was doing. Anything he could do to help WWE. He gave that real sort of corporate, just, oh yeah, I'll give you a big old smile, and anything I can do, as long as I'm on the card, that's all that matters. And he's helping to make WWE bigger and better every day. They talk about when John Cena broke into the business, he would travel on the road with Team Stay Cheap, which involved 6 guys riding in a minivan. That would include John Cena, the Basham Brothers, Ultimo Dragon, Funaki, and Tajiri, as they rode around town to town, staying in $20 hotels. 6 guys with luggage inside of a minivan, sharing these hotels, traveling up and down the road. And he told the story about the time Tajiri broke his character, speaking in his American voice, saying that he wanted to go to Burger King and get a Whopper. After the show, Jericho wanted to know about the relationship with Vince McMahon, and John Cena said that him and Vince are, really close because they both share the same passion for the business, making WWE the biggest thing that they could do. He made jokes about them having a secret handshake, but definitely said that they have a business-like relationship, much like everybody else out there in the world has with their boss. Sometimes they don't see the same thing eye to eye, and they have to go to war with each other in order to see who's going to push through and see what's going to be the big one. Jericho talked about Vengeance 2002, which was a John Cena versus Chris Jericho match where Chris Jericho pushed Vince McMahon to let John Cena go over on the pay-per-view. It was actually Jericho going to Vince saying, you got to let this guy beat me. there's something to this guy. There's something special, and Jericho did the honors, gave him a good match to John Cena, and then was really surprised that 2 weeks later WWE was using John Cena in velocity matches to put over Bull Buchanan, and they weren't really following up. Jericho said that he made John Cena look like he was guaranteed to go on to the main event. And, they were pushing him all the way down to do nothingsville. John Cena and Chris Jericho talked about the backwards promo that John Cena sort of made his own back in OVW. And basically he would say the part of his promo and then say, "Did you catch that? Let me rewind it." And then say the promo just one more time. John Cena put over the fact of how much he loved the European style of wrestling. William Regal and Finlay, and talked about a conversation that he had with William Regal after one of his matches that just went horribly bad. And he went up and asked advice from William Regal, and William Regal said, "Well, if you go out and you get some boots, you actually look the part of a wrestler." And that's the reason why John Cena went out and he bought 75 pairs of wrestling boots, as well as 150 pairs of tights. That way he would never wear the same thing twice when he was on television on OVW, and he would be able to match the local sports teams when he went from town to town. That way guaranteeing that he would get a good reaction every time he came out, because he would look like he would be the hometown boy, even though he came from Massachusetts. They talked about the OVW class of John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, and Batista. They even put over the fact of Shelton Benjamin, Rico, and a few other guys that were there, just saying how, Randy Orton took on the business so much and learned so much so fast. Everything he was doing inside of the ring just looked so fresh. He talked about the fact of Lesnar doing the shooting star press off of the top ropes. Batista just looking like he was just huge, just really huge. Shelton Benjamin being able to jump up on the top rope and be able to walk the ropes from side to side. From there, Chris Jericho brought up the fact of steroids, and they started showing a lot of pictures of John Cena throughout his career, starting at the age of 19, all the way through his bodybuilding days to getting into professional wrestling. And John Cena was saying he's never done steroids. He understands the fact that people believe he does and doesn't believe. His many times he's came out and said that he didn't do them. When he's talking about the fact of, there's players in Major League Baseball, Andy Pettitte, who, take steroids, and, they've came out and said it. And when you're Andy Pettitte, you're a left-handed pitcher for the Yankees, and you're sort of, you look like you don't weigh anything, like you don't have any weight behind you. Andy Pettitte was doing steroids in order to be able to, build strength up in his arms to fight off fight off of injury. And when most people think of steroids, you think of the guy that's muscled out in the gym, just trying to get some more gains, and is trying to get the easy way out. Cena said that he is the same size basically as when he first started bodybuilding. He's gotten a little bit stronger, but that's about it. But when he's progressively pushing his weight limits, you're going to get a little bit stronger through years and years of bodybuilding. But he just says, look at my track record, look at the size of me. I'm the same size as I was, 20 years ago. I'm not going to, be getting any bigger. This is just who I am, and that's just how it goes from there. They talked about Chris Jericho and John Cena being friends. When they go out on the road, they told the drinking story from Alaska, where basically they were in the bar, and through long times of drinking, somebody approached the champ, Dr. Cena, and asked for relationship advice. It was a husband and a wife who thought they were at the end of the line of their marriage, and John Cena took them into another room and counseled them about their marriage, basically saying that they shouldn't get a divorce, and the couple ended up staying together. And then Chris Jericho and John Cena were shut down at the bar, but somehow ended up buying a cooler full of beer from the bartender, who ended up taking it to their room. Jericho ended up passing out early, so Cena tucked him into the bed and then took Chris Jericho's iPod and just started, drinking more beer in the corner of the room. Jericho was awoken and was shocked to see, John Cena just sitting in the corner of the room by himself, awake, watching him sleep, and then wanted to know, he didn't fall asleep in bed. How did he get into bed, and why was he tucked in up to his chin in bed? Cena just took care of him. From there, they really started talking about Roman Reigns, which was a very, very interesting part of the podcast talking about WrestleMania 31. Roman Reigns was supposed to be the guy to take over at the top, and Cena talks about how everybody always, when they meet him, they always say they want to see something new, they want to see something fresh. They've seen Cena on top for years and years, and it seems like they're watching the same show that they've been watching for 10 years. And when you bring things up like that, you think about 2009 and 2010 when WWE pushed Sheamus to being the WWF champion. They pushed Jack Swagger to being the WWE champion. I'm sure there was other examples that come up along the way, but those were the two guys that came to my mind as fast as they could, of guys being pushed to the top, and then all of a sudden people are like, I don't want to see him. You go back to last year, Batista, who wasn't a new guy, wasn't a new fresh face, was just somebody that they brought back from the past and thought would be a great guy to build up to be the champion at WrestleMania 30. The fans turned on him the same way that they would turn on Roman Reigns during his push to being the champion this year. And basically, they say that Cena says that there's going to be somebody along the way that the fans don't turn down that's going to be the new face of the company. Every band needs a front man. And basically, that's what WWE is looking for, to see who's going to be that guy who does take John Cena's place. Both of these guys really like Roman Reigns. They talk about how big of a star this guy's going to be, and how good he is at wrestling, and how great he is with the fans. And I think they honestly really do believe in him. And Cena said, the future for Roman is going to be ugly, to see, what happens from here. A lot of people are going to be thinking that the company gave up on Roman Reigns, even though he was in the main event of Monday Night Raw tonight. We have to see when he's going to be brought back up to the championship thing. I don't think that WWE has shut the door on Roman Reigns. We're going to have to see where they go from here. We talk about the fact of NXT, how these guys are really building up steam and really building up momentum behind their brand. No longer are they stuck down in Florida, but now they're cruising around the country. They're doing shows in front of these fans that don't normally get to see them at live shows. So they're going to be getting different reactions. What gets over in Florida might not get over in Ohio, might not get over in California, or wherever else the show is going to be. I don't know when the next NXT Road show is going to be, but these are very fun to read, on Twitter about what people are saying about what's going on. Cena told the story about electing Refrigerator Perry into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 22, and that was about the time that the fans really started to turn against him, and he didn't want to go out and face the crowds, but Vince McMahon told him to go out there and just make sure he smiles and just say the normal speech that he was going to give, and don't really play to the fans, saying fuck you Cena, to him over and over again, and he went out there and he did it. And he told Vince right before he walked out that he hated him for making him go do that. Lots of talk about Rock versus Cena at WrestleMania 28 and the heat that was built up from behind it. John Cena revealed that he, went out and did press, and he brought up The Rock on purpose, talking about the fact that he always talked about how he loved the business, but, John Cena was saying, I work 300 shows a year, and I didn't see you at any of them. I did this little town in Kentucky. I'm going to be doing this little town in Illinois, and I don't think I'm going to see you at these shows. Talks about how The Rock in his promos was always very protected by the writers. Cena wasn't able to fire back on him freestyling like a lot of the other guys were. It just seemed like it was all Rock and nothing from Cena. Rock could have been having a match against anybody at the lower part of the roster. It could have been against, Zack Ryder for all we care. But, this was supposed to be LeBron James versus Michael Jordan one-on-one. And instead, John Cena got watered down so bad because WWE was kissing The Rock's ass so much that they didn't want to put him in a bad situation that would make him look bad. Rock versus Cena. WrestleMania 28 was one of the greatest moments of my life, seeing a match live. It was the closest I've ever sat at a WrestleMania, sitting 8th row, and the electricity when those guys came out, when they were just staring at each other. I can't watch it on the DVD because they've cut it out, but I remember watching it on the live feed that was on like WMR and other sites for the longest time. Was those guys get to the point where they're about to lock up, and I'm looking at the ring, and all of a sudden I just start punching the fists in the air. I was going bananas. I really liked it. John Cena talked the story that Justin Gabriel talked about on the Jericho podcast a few weeks ago about The Rock. WrestleMania 28 storyline was that John Cena was going to lose the match and then turn heel. Cena said he went in and he recorded a new entrance. He went out and he bought new boots. He bought new gear, and that was supposed to be what pushed him into becoming new. But John Cena said that he can't do that because of all the crowd that pay to see him. Talks about how WWE really helps out the Make-A-Wish kids, and it doesn't matter if every person in that whole arena is booing him. If that Make-A-Wish kid in that front row is there and pays to see him, he's happy to do what he did. But another great show by Chris Jericho, one of the greatest wrestling podcasts there is going today. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes. Talk is Jericho. Great shows twice a week. I believe it's Wednesdays and Fridays. Peace out, everybody.